It's the Jim and Terry Show from the Hobbit Hole Studio and Bob Cajun, bringing you the latest edition of Have You Heard? Stuff you may have wondered about, pondered, maybe even forgotten. Let me bring it back to your attention. Have you heard? Without Jim and the Hobbit Hole, we had the lack of ability to get together. What is that saying? I'm not sure what I mean by that, except to say we did not get together. So this is a few podcasts of the Terry Only Show until we meet again. In the meantime, things that are interesting to me. No particular order. This is just the way it goes. How about this one? Poilievre's Cat by Stratford, Ontario comedian who goes by the stage name Brittle Star. I'll provide a link in the description so you can enjoy his satire and live performance. Minimal comedy, I think. Here we go.
What's he about? He's demanding to know if the cat's alive or dead. What cat? The cat in this box. Why doesn't he just look in the box? Says he doesn't want to. Why? So he can more easily criticize the alive or deadness of the cat. But can't he just look in the box and find out? You'd think, right?
Of course, that is the reference to the famous thought experiment developed by, and I don't know if I can get this, Austrian. He's an Austrian physicist, Erwin Schrödinger, designed a thought experiment to illustrate the paradox of quantum superposition, wherein, in this case, a hypothetical cat may be considered both alive and dead at the same time because its fate is linked to a random event that may or may not occur in some future reality. It's based on the possibility, the idea that if you took a cat that happened to be in a box, and that box contained something that may or may not, would kill the cat in some eventual scenario, you would never know without opening the box whether the cat was still alive or whether it was dead. You needed to peer into it. It's almost like a sort of double-blind physics particle wave experiment. Unless it's observed, you will never know. So how does that relate to Brittle Star's comedy? Well, it's satire, which means this guy is brilliant, Brittle Star. And in this case, he's poking fun at Pierre Poilievre, who still refuses to be vetted for security clearance, the highest security clearance. All the other leaders, and I think the most recent one, the Bloc leader, just received his highest security rating. So now all the party's leaders but Pierre Poilievre have been cleared. And it does beg the awkward question, what's the problem? What's the holdup? And that's where Brittle Star's comedy sketch comes in. And you can watch it on TikTok, Instagram, or any one of those other, it's even on YouTube, I think. And the whole point is to say, for God's sake, Poilievre, open the damn box. That means get your security clearance so you can see for yourself. But apparently there's some problems in paradise for Poilievre. I'm going to leave that alone. I just thought I'd start off with comedy. Some other things that are getting to me is this thing called ground news. If you haven't heard about it, look it up, ground news. I've been seeing this for over a year now, maybe longer, and I finally decided to put my money where my mouth is in my quest for understanding the different views on a topic. Ground news presents a quick summary of articles on any given topic. And it tells you who or what news outlets, what reporters, journalists, what social media, what podcasters are covering this topic. And then it suggests a media breakdown, media bias. And on a convenient little chart on the right hand of your home screen, it tells you, for instance, I'm looking up the Ukraine war to find the latest because I want to know about North Korea sending troops. And that topic is fairly balanced. It's got 39% of the articles, and in this case, there are 9,175 stories. And Ground News has aggregated the last 3 months' worth of articles. And out of that, we find that 39% are covered by left-leaning, and 20% are centrist, and 41% are right-leaning news sources. So again, you can just, at a glance, you can see who covers most of these topics. And of course, you would expect to see that Ukraine sources, Ukraine-based news outlets would cover it the most. But then there are some other surprising things. And the Ukraine war brings up all kinds of variations on the theme. For instance, in the top war news stories is this headline: Musk and Putin have regularly talked since 2022, from the Wall Street Journal. Well, the Wall Street Journal, you know, is a right-leaning outlet. It's a conservative news agency, but it's fairly balanced. When you click on the article, you can find out that there are, well, it doesn't tell me, 88 articles have been talking about this. This is the Wall Street Journal's version, and excuse me, it goes on to show you the breakdown of who is covering this and why. Whether the source leans to the left, leans to the right, down the middle, whether it's factual, mostly factual, or spurious. And you can tell whether it is an individual news agency, a conglomerate media agency. For instance, I've often said that most of Canada's media is owned by a U.S. right-leaning investment group, and that includes CTV, includes Toronto Star, it includes National Post, Toronto Sun, and a whole bunch of subsidiary news agencies from across Canada. And so I would expect them to show up on the right side of things. Even the Toronto Star might be occasionally leaning more to the right than a centrist position. And that's the Toronto Star, which is known for being the last Liberal holdout. Some people might say it's the CBC that's the last Liberal holdout, but there are a number of times when even CBC's coverage has kind of surprised me in its stance on different issues. Ground news is a way of checking your media consumption. It's a way of saying, well, I saw this on YouTube, or I saw this on Facebook News, I saw this wherever. You can check out to see whether that source is left, center, or right through this website, Ground News. So I've included I bought a year's worth of subscription. I think it was $3 a month for a year, and I thought I'm going to check it out, test it out. So here it is, nearly the end of October, and I'm going to determine how this affects my news consumption and whether I will choose to differentiate my news based upon news sources, based upon how they fall on the political spectrum, based upon reliability, because there is an algorithm that determines whether it is mixed factuality, strongly factual, less factual, more opinion. And when you put all these things together, you have what we call an informed opinion. Your opinion shouldn't just be formed on one thing that you read from one source. It should be developed over consumption of a variety of sources, considering the spectrum and considering perhaps the journalist involved. Character does matter, and a journalist's reputation for telling the truth or obfuscating is all part of your assessment. It's part of your critical thinking skills that most Canadians, I don't know if I could say that fairly, some Canadians do not seem to access, do not seem to use. So Ground News, there's my example of Musk and Putin regularly talk since late 2022. It might be of interest to know that Starlink chips have been found in drones that Russia has launched. And that begins to be fuzzy because Starlink, Musk, SpaceX, is a defense contractor for the U.S. military. How can your contractor be supplying data or hardware or software to an enemy state? I don't get it. So I have a lot of questions. I will be following this to see how it all breaks. Maybe we'll learn something. Speaking of Musk, you know that he's supporting Trump. He's got $1 million lottery. If you sign a petition and your name is drawn, I think there have been 2 people in 2 swing states who have won his $1 million, but he's been warned by the DOJ that it's against the law to influence peddle in an election. But so far, there's no case. He's just been warned. So I'm wondering where that will go. And that's sort of related to, you can look up Musk and just see all the controversy. So on the search engine for this, I'm going to Ground News, and I'm looking, I just typed in search for Musk, and it comes up with all kinds of things you can filter through here. Musk and Putin. Musk became tens of billions richer after Tesla share soared. You may have heard that. That was October 23rd, 24th. You'll see all kinds of things. Elon keeps up his pro-Trump spending spree. Elon Musk sends $44 million more to back up Trump. That's from October 24th. Teal and the shadow apartheid South African. Musk and Teal. Okay, put those 2 together. Musk backs Trump's with another. Okay, so it goes on and on and on and on, and you can check out a whole bunch of Musk articles when you want to find things. There's a search engine conveniently at the top. Ground News. How to help your critical thinking and news consumption for a more balanced and informed opinion. Remember, we just know what the news publishes. It's up to us to figure out the sources as best we can using critical thinking skills. Do they teach that in school? I can tell you, I used to. But then, maybe not everybody's like me, interested in finding truth, even if it's uncomfortable. The Jim and Terry Show, signing off for now. Bye-bye.